Hello and welcome to my channel, and if this is your first time here, my name is Millie and today's video is going to be a June anti-haul. Now this is only my second time ever doing an anti-haul, so I'm still trying to get the hang of it, but I really enjoyed filming the first one, so I thought I would continue this series. So just like the last video, I will talk about some mainstream releases but also some indie makeup releases. So I have an anti-haul folder on my Instagram and I've been saving stuff, and there's just not that much. I'm actually pretty surprised, and it seems like it's kind of mostly indie. So let's just get right into it. I think there's honestly just not been that many exciting releases, or really that many releases. So I'm curious when and if that will ramp back up, maybe during the holidays. But let's get right into it. The first thing is the Natasha Denona bronze palette. I love Natasha Denona. I love her eyeshadows. I love her palettes. I love the formula. I'm definitely a major fan. I have so many Natasha Denona palettes. It's just totally not for me. I am not the target audience by any means, shape, or form. I like a lot more color than this, but even then, there's a lot of shimmers. Oh, I forgot to scoot over. But even then, there's a lot of shimmers and just a couple of mattes, and the mattes are just like browns. And then the shimmers, of course, I'm sure the shimmers are like out of this world, but a lot of them look pretty similar. I mean, how many shades of bronze can you really truly own? Yeah, this is definitely a major pass. And then there was also a bronze cheek face glow palette, like kind of like one of those little quads. And it looks like it's pretty much just all shimmers. What does it say? Bronze cream glow, super glow bronze, super glow nude. It's just like a lot of shimmery shades, and I've seen some criticism that it's not inclusive, and I definitely agree with that. And I just think Natasha Denona needs to start releasing not just one face palette at a time, but multiple palettes for multiple skin tones, because let's be honest, one has a palette been able to be used by multiple different skin tones from the lightest to the deepest. But also in general, I'm pretty over any kind of face palette that has multiple shades in it, because it's just always going to be shades that are not something you can use. Next up is the Kylie Cosmetics Kylie Jenner and Kendall Jenner part 3 collaboration collection. I'm not gonna lie, like some of the colors, like if you look at just like the lower right corner, those are cute. But if you cover those up, it's basically a bronze palette, like the Natasha Denona palette. It's pretty lame, I understand. Like, I don't think Kendall is really exactly a very colorful makeup kind of person in general. I think she's much more like natural kind of vibe, like the kind of makeup but no makeup look. And I don't remember last time I bought anything from Kylie Cosmetics. I definitely gave into the hype in the beginning, but honestly, I'm not a fan of the Kardashians by any means, and definitely not Kylie or Kim especially, so I would not be wanting to give them any of my coins. Next up, we have 3 brushes that are insanely pricey. These are the Goss artist brushes, and they're basically super handmade with like really beautiful wooden handles, and they're just supposed to be kind of like the best of the best when it comes to craft. And the hair is silk, which is interesting to me. I don't think I've really seen that much or ever. I know there's like silk lashes, but I don't think I've ever seen silk brushes, so I am curious. Price tag on this is $175 for 3 brushes, so this is really like as bougie as it gets, and I don't find that any of these shapes of the brushes would be anything I would want to use. But of course, it's mostly the price that's off-putting. And while I understand like the wooden handles are really nice and they have like a earthy feel, they also kind of look like they've been used a lot, like many years, almost like a little artifacty, like from like the Renaissance time. Like this is what I imagine their brushes look like, basically. So that's that. The next one is the Morphe brushes Maddie Ziegler, and it's a collaboration. There's a palette, some lip glosses, some liners, and I'm not gonna lie, the palette is pretty cute. I think some of the colors are pretty cute. I think the color story is not too bad. There's a little bit too many bronzes for my taste, per usual. But I think some of the pops of colors are fun. And actually, when I first saw this and when I first saw the cover of the palette, I was like, this looks very similar to something I've seen before. And it was the ColourPop Through My Eyes collab Her name escapes me right now. I'm gonna put it up on the screen. I don't know why I cannot think of her name right now. But the covers had the same exact like eye blurriness effect, fading of the eyes. So I thought that was interesting. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty cute, but I don't really care for Morphe. I'm not really looking to buy from Morphe anytime soon. They've just been so problematic. It's just best to really stay away from them. And they've been doing a lot of collabs that are just totally uninteresting. So that's a pass for me. Next one, we have the LC Cosmetics Minimalist palettes, and they're adding a new one, and it's like a colorful one. It's literally 2, 4, 5 shimmers, like big ass pans of shimmers, and then 2 smaller pans. I mean, this just whole layout is repulsive. I don't like it, and I haven't heard the greatest things. I haven't really heard much at all about the other palettes, but this palette is just like, who is this for? Because who just needs a palette with 5 shimmers in it? I don't understand. I guess maybe to pair with their other 2 palettes, but then why won't you just buy one palette with shimmers and mattes? I just don't get this release at all. It's so confusing. The swatches look nice, but I think it's like $40 or something like that. It's crazy. Second to last on the mainstream releases, next is Nabla, and I think a lot of people were really excited about this one. However, the first thing that was revealed was like a 4-pan glitter palette. Can you be any more disappointing? Because who wants a glitter palette? Like, Nabla's like an indie brand, but it's definitely a bit more mainstream. Like, I think they got a little bit more, you know, coin in their pocket than some of these other indie brands. And just knowing their audience, I'm really surprised that they would go this way, especially because people have been very, very loud and clear about not liking glitters. And then these 4 shades of, I guess these are bronzers, and I love the texture on them. I mean, they literally look like candy, but this is definitely not enough shades, and this is just another issue. This is just another example of brands getting away with only releasing 4 or 5 shades of something that they feel like can fit most skin tones, such as bronzers and contours, I feel like. And then there's also some lip glosses, but I just have absolutely zero interest in those. I was definitely expecting a bit more from Nabla. Next up, the last mainstream release is the Beautybay Pastel Eyeshadow Palette. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I almost got this. It's like $10. Well, 10 pounds, so it's probably like $13. But I wasn't about to just spend $13 and then have to pay for shipping. But also, I definitely have plenty of pastel colors, and I don't know about their formula, so it was just safe to not do it and just think about all the pastels I have in my drawers. But it is definitely a really beautiful palette, and I like the different color variation of the different tones of pastels. So next up for indie, we don't have too many. The first 2 are from Lovelux Beauty, and there's some little 9-pan palettes. And yeah, I used to have a bunch of stuff from Lovelux Beauty, but they really like to alter their photos and these swatches especially. And I know Amy Loves Makeup has purchased a couple of these previous 9-pan palettes, and she didn't have the best experience, and she also definitely thought that they really oversaturate their swatches. So this is definitely a hard pass, and I think this palette's like $30-something. I feel like Lovelux Beauty is a little overpriced. Just not really a huge fan with the whole like editing the photos, and there were some like really weird things too, where the shade in the swatch and then the pan looked totally different, and people like called them out on it, and I think they like deleted comments. So just a huge pass. Next up is a new palette from the now rebranded Blush Tribe. The name is Mayali Beauty. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, totally butchering it. The palette's definitely cute. I like the packaging. It looks a little like a stock photo, and the colors are definitely really beautiful, but this is not my color story. It just doesn't really like speak to me. It's totally not for me, but I am curious to see what else they will release in the future. I am definitely going to be following what they're going to be putting out, so that should be interesting. And then lastly, we have some loose neon pigments and a palette and some liners, lots of liners from Dolzura Cosmetics. that was featured on Trend Mood Spotlight. We all know that's paid for. But anyways, I thought we left these cheapo Amazon wholesale neon loose pigments in the past. Do you remember there was this one girl, she was like in a Facebook group or something, and she started like her own brand, and she was literally like reselling Amazon neon loose pigments for like $35. I think it was like a set of 6, and then people like figured her out and figured out that like that stuff was probably not even eye safe, and then she disappeared. I wonder where she is now. But anyways, this reminds me of that, and the palette is pretty cute. They do have some pastel and neon liners, which we all know has been very much a thing with indie brands lately, and I'm sure they're all the same formula more or less. But in general, I'm just anti-hauling all the indie makeup brands and their products that look super private labeled or like wholesale, so like palettes and loose pigments, lip glosses, and stuff like that. I will throw up just a bunch of palettes because there's honestly been so many random indie brands, and they also have really like weird kitschy names, and I'm just like, I don't know who you are, and they claim to be indie, which is like literally anybody like me and you could go on AliExpress and just buy a ton of palettes and sell them. But of course there's a certain amount of customization with private labeling, which is how some indie brands do get away with it, and I'm like okay with some of that depending on how like unique it is and if they do have some control of the formula. But there's been a huge influx of these just indie brands that pop out of nowhere and self-proclaim themselves as indie, and it's just, I feel like that word has been a little bit thrown around and gotten a different meaning, and of course it really is up to you as a consumer and what you want to buy. You or other people might be totally fine with buying palettes like that, but for me personally, I just don't find them inspiring. I don't really want to pay $40 for a palette that looks like it probably cost them $5 to make, and I would just rather give my money to indie brands that have actual active, you know, owners, and you know who's behind the brand, and you know what they stand for, and you know that they're the creative minds and they're coming up with all this stuff, and it's super unique, and that's just kind of what I prefer. So that's everything I wanted to talk about for this June anti-haul. Let me know in the comments below what you're anti-hauling, and if there's anything that I mentioned that you have purchased and how you like it. I would love to hear your thoughts. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.